Whitney Belker. Welcome to Miami's Global Connection, a show sponsored by the United Nations Association of Greater Miami. Founded in 1980, the Peace Education Foundation is a nonprofit educational organization whose mission is to educate children and adults in the dynamics of conflict and to promote peacekeeping skills in homes, schools, and communities throughout the world. This mission is served by providing educational materials, training, and innovative programming that makes nonviolent conflict resolution not merely a passing interest or fad, but rather a lifestyle. Today we will discuss the importance of peace education as well as conflict resolution practices and how they impact not only our communities, but also our outlook and relationships on a global scale. Joining me in the studio is the president of Peace Education Foundation, Llyod van Bylevelt. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So I hear that the Peace Education Foundation is actually founded here in Miami.
Yeah, we're a locally born and bred organization, really. There were two sisters that, as far back as the Korean War days, were protesting against wars and writing letters to presidents and things like that. And they realized they weren't accomplishing very much by doing that. And since they were both teachers, they said, well, we have to reach the children. And they started to develop lesson plans to teach how to resolve conflicts nonviolently. And basically it was just a word-of-mouth type of thing here within the Dade County school system for a number of years. And then in 1980, one of the two sisters, Grace Contrino Abrams, died. And the other teachers that were involved in this established us as a nonprofit organization in her memory.
That's fantastic. So how do you teach conflict and peace or non-conflict resolution?
Well,
I mean, how can that really be taught?
I think that that's really one of the great things about our organization, because when you hear peace, you think of sort of esoteric type of things, and whereas we really are so skill-building oriented, we're trying to teach a lot of similar skills all the way from pre-K to high school. Things like respect, cooperation, making friends, anger management, problem solving, decision making, effective communication skills like listening, paraphrasing, understanding body language. So it's real basic types of skills that are taught in a progressive manner throughout the education process, but real concrete types of things.
Okay, so I understand you start at pre-K. So what would be an example of a program or something that might be in a curriculum that you would teach someone in kindergarten about these different...
When we're at that level, we're really involved in a lot of things that are self-esteem building, and things like we use our I Care Cat puppet and a lot of music and things, and tunes that kids will know and the teachers will know so that it's easy to do. But things like listening and caring. Like one of the things that we base those earliest years on are the I Care rules, and it's things like we listen to each other. Hands are for helping, not hurting.
I mean, this all sounds wonderful, but what about that kid, Joey, who's running around the classroom and kicking and screaming and just being a bad kid?
Well, I mean, a lot of what is going on with all of this too is classroom management, and what we're doing is, we've developed the curriculum, but we're also do training of teachers, and a lot of the basic stuff with this is classroom management and knowing how to control the child, but in a respectful manner, in a manner that the child will understand. One of the things that we use a lot in our program is the concept of rules. These are called the I Care rules. We have the rules for fighting fair. We have the peace rules. But it's the idea that kids, by and large, will latch on to rules. They like them, and if just so long as they're fair and just. If they're not reasonable, then they're not going to pay attention to them and think or anything. But if they're proper, they will.
Okay, you mentioned the fighting fair rule. how exactly do you fight fair in kindergarten?
Well, we don't use the fighting fair rule at the kindergarten levels. From kindergarten through second and third grade, it's the I Care rules. Then you grow into the idea of fighting fair, and the idea there was, it's not one rule. It's you identify the problem, you focus on the problem, you attack the problem, not the person. You listen with an open mind. It's a series of things, but the idea there is that sports activities, and that was part of the thing of calling fighting fair, in that, so that kids would identify with it.
Okay, so athletics is definitely a good way to understand how to focus that energy in the right direction. Sure.
And although we're not an athletic program, although we do have an after-school program that is physical education oriented. We have it's called Win-Win Games, and what we did is we took cooperative games and gave them the conflict resolution processing, so that it is rather activity-based. All of our stuff is very activity-based, but this is physical activity-based.
Okay, when you mention peace, there are two things that come to mind, I think, for not only for myself, but probably for many of our viewers. How do you deal with such issues as racism and religion?
Well, in our program, we do deal with diversity, and teach the concepts behind diversity and respect and tolerance and a lot of different things. So that is a part of the program. So we're very much a preventive program. We're not trying to change. We are trying to change things, but in a very preventative manner.
So what would be an example? I'm sorry, but you say you're trying to teach diversity.
Well, it's values.